Welcome to Adhvaitha Decoding Reality podcast. In today's episode, I will talk about the unified theory on reality. We will go deep into the teachings of the ancient Upanishads and we will try to look at the concept of God and the nature of reality with the framework of logic. So with that, let us get into the episode. First, let us look at what modern science is telling us and what materialism tells us. Materialism simply says that matter is fundamental. The universe came first and then it gave rise to consciousness, human consciousness. And through this human consciousness, we are able to experience this world and we are trying to understand the universe itself. And matter is primary and matter gives rise to consciousness somehow because of brain activity and neural activity. This is the simple framework of materialism and this is what most of the scientists believe in. Most of the scientific community do not believe in the concept of God and they simply say that there is no need for God and this universe has emerged out of nothing and after a while it simply subsides into nothing. Of course, from the perspective of a human mind, it looks like matter is fundamental. It looks like matter exists. As we come to this world, as we interact with this world and as we talk to different people, it seems that there is a reality outside of us and we are just a small tiny part of that reality. And this entire world, the planets and galaxies are all made of matter. It seems like that to us and it seems obvious to us. But let us talk about the creation of the universe. Can something actually come from nothing? Just think about it logically. Can you imagine this universe and this time-space reality coming out of nothing? Can you imagine matter coming out of nothing? This is simply beyond the framework of logic. The logic fails here. Science cannot explain the creation of the universe. Science cannot explain what was there before the creation of the universe. Nobody actually knows about this. But the ancient scriptures of India give us detailed explanation on the creation of the universe. The ancient Vedanta explains the creation of the universe elaborately. It is said that before the creation of the universe, there was a subtle intelligence. We can call it pure consciousness. The name given to this pure intelligence or pure consciousness is Satchidananda. It translates to existence, consciousness and bliss. This pure consciousness is very subtle. It is very much out of reach of the human intellect because of its subtleness. We cannot see it, we cannot sense it, we cannot feel it. But it is the source which enables us to see and feel and think. This subtle source, this pure intelligence which existed before the creation of the universe will also continue to exist after the dissolution of universe because this subtle element is beyond time-space reality. Space cannot hold it, time cannot control it. This subtle intelligence is not a man, it is not a thing. It is something beyond matter. And this seems like nothing to us. This seems like nothing to the human mind. But something cannot come from nothing. The universe came from this subtle pure consciousness. And this was the seed from which the universe emerged. As the universe emerged, matter came into being and different galaxies and planets came into being. And these galaxies started expanding. And here at this stage, we can refer to science as science will do a better job in explaining the expansion of the universe and how the planets cooled down and how water came into the picture and because of water the small unicellular organisms came into existence and later due to evolution and natural selection human beings came into the picture. Now of course, from the point of view of human mind, it sounds like there is no need for God. There is no need for a creator because the process of evolution and the process of natural selection itself can explain how organisms evolved and how complex organisms came from simple beginnings. But what we fail to understand here is that for all this to happen, there needs to be an underlying intelligence. And for the universe itself to come into being, there needs to be something beyond the universe, something beyond time space reality. And our mind, since it is the product of the time space reality, can never understand something which is beyond time space reality. So, the boundaries of the human mind are time, space, and causation. We can never understand something which is beyond time, we can never understand which is beyond space, and we can never understand something which simply exists without any cause. So, that fundamental source of creation, that pure consciousness, existed before the universe, and it exists after the universe, and it exists in the middle in the form of the universe. So that God is what this universe is. That God is who you are, that God is who I am. This is the teaching of the Upanishads. That God alone exists everywhere all the time. And matter simply cannot come into existence without any cause, and it cannot come into existence from nothing. What we can instead say is this universe as it is right now came into being from something which is very subtle, which is so subtle and which is so out of reach of the human intellect that it seems like nothing to us. That is why we say universe came from nothing. But for a tree to come, a seed has to be there. For the universe to come in this way, a subtle element had to be there before time-space reality, which projected this universe as it is. So that subtle something, the religions call it God, and the Vedanta calls it Satchidananda, or pure consciousness, which is the source of creation, which is the reason for the universe to exist. So this is the logic behind the concept of God. But why did I call this the unified theory on reality? Here we need to go a little deeper. Until now, we did not discuss anything which is very radical. I simply said there is a subtle intelligence which is not a person, which is not a thing, but it is pure consciousness and pure intelligence which existed before the creation of the universe, and within which the universe began to emerge in this way. And after the creation of the universe, because of evolution and natural selection, human beings came into picture. But here what we need to understand is the universe simply appears to exist. It technically does not exist. If something existed before the universe and if something exists after the universe, then what exists in between is also that something which existed before the universe. Universe is not something apart from that which existed before the universe, since universe came from that. The better way to understand this is through an example. The example that I usually use is of a clay and the pot. The clay exists before the pot and the clay continues to exist after the pot. So if this is the case, then the pot simply appears to exist. The pot is nothing but clay alone. Pot is simply a form, but it is in fact in and through clay. Just like this universe in and through is that subtle intelligence, is that subtle consciousness. This universe in and through is God. And this universe has evolved in this way so that this universe can realize itself to be God through evolution. Now, a human being represents the peak of evolution. After millions and millions of years of evolution, human beings have come into the picture. And the great thing about us is that we can realize the nature of reality as it is. We can realize ourselves to be that pure consciousness which gave rise to this universe. So in this way, the pure consciousness gives rise to the universe, and the universe evolves, and through the evolution of the universe, human beings come into the picture, and through the enlightenment of a human being, he realizes himself to be that pure consciousness which gave rise to the universe in the first place. And through all this, the cycle is completed. This is how it becomes a unified theory of reality. So we, in our truest essence, are that pure intelligence and that pure consciousness which gave rise to this universe. We are that pure consciousness. In fact, everything is that pure consciousness. That is the teaching of Advaitha Vedanta. And this is the logic behind Aham Brahmasmi. When the Upanishads say Aham Brahmasmi, it is not referring to this body or this mind. It is referring to our true nature, which is beyond this body and mind, which is that pure consciousness, which in fact at the beginning of the universe gave rise to this universe. That is who we truly are, and that is beyond time. It is beyond space and it is beyond causation. This is how we need to understand the unified theory on reality. And once we realize our true nature to be that pure, infinite, abundant consciousness, we come out of fear and we attain absolute fulfillment as promised by the ancient Upanishads of India. I hope this was valuable to you. If you want to understand these concepts in greater depth, and if you want to consciously create your life the way you actually want to live, then you can check out our community cum learning platform, the Advaitha Conscious Society.